basketball analysis with over 70 years combined experience.
The Bob Ryan and Jeff Goodman podcast, brought to you by Price Picks and the Game Time.
Welcome, everybody. It's time for the Bob Ryan, Jeff Goodman, Tanguay along for the ride pod here. Brought to you by Price Picks, the exclusive daily fantasy partner of the CLNS Media Network. Pick more, pick less with Price Picks. Well, guys, I think, Jeff, I'm worried about the health of Bob Ryan with all these threes. I mean, is there a joke here somewhere? The Warriors made 27 threes and lost as a record-breaking night with Dallas and the Warriors. 43 three-pointers, 21 for Dallas and 27 for Golden State. This does not surprise me.
What is funny, and this is, you can't make this, up, is that when last we met, I was pointing out to you that a record had been set for the most misses. The Bulls and the Hornets missed 75 threes combined the other night. And then last night in San Francisco, we had the flip side, a new record it makes of 48. And a subplot of that was Klay Thompson's return. And he and Curry each had 7, but on opposite sides, of course.
Sure.
And of course, and the subplot of the subplot was Doncic had another routine evening, 45, 11, and 11. So, for him. But this 3-point thing, I just within days we have a record of misses and a record of makes, and it's part of the game. I got some numbers I'll throw at you, and I'll get off this topic. I got 2 separate nights I've taken a full account of the 3-point of shooting in the NBA. Last Friday, the association members combined to shoot 1,535 shots, of which 54% were twos and 46% were threes, in case anybody wonders what a ratio is. Last night, the association members combined to shoot 1,270 shots, and it was 58% two and 42% three. So I don't know. We just to give an example of what the balance is on a nightly basis. Is it what you thought when you hear those numbers? 54 and 46 versus 58 and 42 in favor of the two? Or
nothing surprises me now, Bob. Nothing surprises me anymore. It's hard to put into context how the game has changed over the years. And when I was growing up, obviously when you were growing up, it was bully ball. When I was growing up, for sure. And now it's a shock if your 5-man is not launching threes. And that was a surprise last night, to be honest. Is like, you've got a couple bigs that really don't shoot threes for these teams. If you look at it, think about it. Derek Lively is the big for Dallas for the most part. Yeah, and he doesn't shoot threes at all. And then Golden State, I mean, they're going with a small lineup right now, so it's a little different. But Trace Jackson Davis doesn't shoot threes at all. But they got now, I mean, everybody on the court. Looney doesn't shoot threes either. So their 5-men really don't shoot threes, and they still shot. It felt like 100. Well, it was 100. It was 100. It was 90. Was it 95 threes? 95 threes for the game.
Yeah. Well, anyway, the game is absolutely good. And one other thing I have to tell you, statistics wise, I told you that there were 40 guys averaging 20 points a game, right? The number has dropped to 37 as of last night. So just so you know.
It's a holiday slump. It's a holiday slump.
All right.
But does this mean, though, what does it have to do with winning a title? Do we know that yet?
Very good question. The most recent champion certainly thrived on threes. Yes. The reigning champions in our midst. So it's helped them, no question. I have to go back. I'm not sure. I have to look at some numbers to check out. I don't know. And what's your gut feeling, though, Jeff, about with the Well, the other teams that did it, the recently, the Bucks.
Well, the Warriors, the Warriors will always
Warriors,
be,
of course.
The Warriors are the poster kids. But here's my observation of it. The Celtics definitely like to shoot the three. We've seen that. However, Jeff, I don't know if I consider them a three-point shooting team in the same vein as the Warriors.
Yeah, I mean, I would listen. They've got a bunch of guys that can shoot threes, but they're not 3-point shooters. I would say, like Jason.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right.
Tatum's strength is not really shooting the three. Jaylen Brown's strength is not shooting the three. Derek White's strength, Drew Holiday's, like none of them, even Porzingis to some extent, right, can score in a variety of ways now. Now, the one guy who's become an elite 3-point shooter this year is Peyton Pritchard, and it's crazy.
And runner-up is Hauser. Hauser,
yes,
they're very similar in that regard. And so of course.
But your five guys, your five primary scorers, none of which are. If you said to them, hey, you know what? We're not going to shoot the three tonight. We're going to go with a different way of trying to win this game, and you can't shoot any threes tonight. I still think the Boston Celtics would find a way to win because, again, their guys can get to the basket. They can finish. Now, that's not the model now for winning games.
No, but that's a good point. And I think I'm picturing it as you speak. And all of them, obviously, we're starting with Porzingis, who has a post game, and we know that both Brown and Tatum love to go to the hoop. They're very good going to the hoop, and we know that there's nothing. And the guards, of course, are so smart. They'll figure something out, both of them. So
I think what the Celtics are, and that's why I do have hope for a well balanced game, where I'm not so anti-3 as Bob. Yeah. But I like to see a mixed bag. I don't want to see a whole night of just launching away. I love to see Tatum go to the hoop. I like to see guys go to the middle, and so forth. But I also like to see timely threes. I would characterize, Bob, this Celtic team as, seems to me they're very timely with the three. I've seen Derek White come up with the three big at times, or Brown come up with the three big at times, where to Jeff's point, I wouldn't necessarily consider any member of the starting five one of the top 3-point shooters in the league.
Well, statistically, they aren't.
Right. But I think they're timely, though.
Yeah, no, it's a very good
timely
point.
with it.
They're in tune with the new game in terms of seeking out the three and going inside out and all that and looking for guys. And when you run a fast break now, it's not necessarily to go to the basket. It's somebody fans out on the wing, and all that. And no, you're right. They're very versatile in that regard. They know how to make it work. Right. Yeah, that's right.
Which I find,
it's good.
I find refreshing, quite frankly.
Well, yeah. But
anyways, moving on. A deal that was made. Jeff, I always forget. I should know this after all my years. Is it Schröder or Schröder?
Schröder.
It's Schröder. That's right. It's like two O's.
It's Schröder.
Because of that funny thing there.
The umlaut.
What is it?
Umlaut, I think.
Okay. Thank you, Bob. The linguistic. So he goes to the Warriors. What does this do?
Well, I mean, here's the thing with Schröder is he's talented. We know that, right? We know that. He's been talented since he came in the league. Whatever it's been, a decade or so ago. He's just played on so many different teams that I think it's always like, is his talent worth his issues? And I think for Golden State right now, it's like, hey, they got to do something, right? They got to do something, or else, frankly, they're just kind of another team that, okay, maybe they can get in the playoffs, but they're not going to make any actual noise come playoff time. Where now, all right, here's another piece for them. And who knows what they're going to do with Kuminga? Are they just showcasing Jonathan Kuminga right now to try to deal him because they're playing him a ton of minutes? Steve Kerr moved him in the starting lineup. He's talented. I still don't know if I trust him as more than, I don't want to say an empty numbers guy, but kind of. So it's Curry and Draymond, and you got some of these other pieces. Wiggins, if he plays well, but you don't know what to expect out of Wiggins. I just think it was worth the risk. If you're Dunleavy, of making this move, you didn't give up a whole lot. What did you give up? DeAnthony Milton and some second-round picks for Schröder.
I don't know anything about Beekman.
Yeah, it's worth a shot here to see how it goes. Just because, again, Schröder he's super fast. He can guard if he wants to. Not a great shooter, but streaky shooter. He can help him. He can help him if he's bought in. And I think it's hard not to be bought in when you're playing with Steph and Draymond.
I think from the Warriors' point of view, it means we're not giving up. We're actually seeking improvement this year, and picking up a guy who is having one of the two best statistical years of his entire career. He's averaging 18.2 or so, and his high was back 6 years ago at OKC with 18.9. And he's having a really good year. And people have been singing his praises in New York as a leader, as a locker room guy, in a way that you've never heard before about him. He's 31 years old, and he has to, I won't say he has to be a cynic, he has to be a real realist. This is his sixth team, and he's been with one of them twice, the Lakers. And you're right, he's always in that category. He's sought after to a degree, but you're not afraid to give him up either. But he's having a hell of a career for this German guy, and he is German, believe it or not. And so, in their point of view, not giving up. And from the Nets' point of view, they're officially going into lag for flag, and there's no question about it. They're giving up. They're
hoop for coop.
Hoop for coop, lag
for coop.
Okay, fine. And they're giving up, and they're entering that derby officially now, as opposed to unofficially. And Schröder probably has done every morning, I bet, in the last month when he got up, the first thing he did was pack his bag just in case, because they've been talking about this for.
He's had his bag. Wait. Hey, Bob. He's had his bag packed his entire career. It's ready to go.
Yeah, he knows. He's probably very skilled at that.
Yes.
He's an intriguing player. It's hard to remember. We had him. And I remember I think he had a 30-point game one night I was there, but I know I was there one night when he had a really, really, really good game. So he passed through our doors as well. Interesting guy. And so anyway, but I just think it's a fun trade in that regard, is that one team is saying, okay, we're not giving up on this season. And the other team is saying, well, it's over. And, we're lottery bound.
We got more coming up, including the Bucks. Are they back? That's all coming up here. But first, I have to tell you that Prize Picks is the best place to get real money sports action. With over 10 million members and billions of dollars in award winnings, Prize Picks has made daily fantasy sports accessible to all. You just pick more or less on at least two players for a shot to win up 200 times your cash. Run your game all season long on Prize Picks, America's #1 daily fantasy sports app. So make your holidays bigger and brighter with Prize Picks, the best place to get real money action while watching your favorite sports. Prize Picks is the best place to get real money. Join over 10 million members and sign up today. Prize Picks invented the flex play, which means you can still cash out if your lineup isn't perfect. You can double your money even if one of your picks does not hit. Prize Picks now offers MasterCard for quick and easy deposits into your account this sports season. So you can win up to 200 times your money this holiday season on Prize Picks. And join right now, because Prize Picks during the holiday is giving away 2 free picks in December. They're giving away $30+ million in rewards during Pickmas. Now, you think Steph Curry will get more than 5 3-pointers this week, or Giannis more than 35? Cook up your hot takes with your friends and win real money this basketball season when you and your crew run your game with Prize Picks. I'll say Jason Tatum for more than 29 points. Anthony Edwards for more than 25. Maybe the Brow, Anthony Davis for more than 12 rebounds. All right. Download the app today and use code CLNS to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Again, download the app today and use code CLNS to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks, run your game. The Bucks, we talked about them a little bit in the past, Jeff. It seems like the Bucks back?
I mean, I don't know if they're back, but again, They should have never been where they were earlier this season. They were horrible out of the gates, and they've been good. But you look at kind of who they've beaten, and now listen. They do have Chris Middleton back. I don't think Chris Middleton is ever going to be the player again that he was a few years ago, pre all these injuries. But they got him coming off the bench. He'll help the second unit. I don't know if he ever gets back to where he's second or third best player on this team, because if he ever did, with Giannis and Lillard, man, then you'd be talking about a Milwaukee team that I don't think could challenge the Celtics, but could, challenge anybody else in the East for the most part. They're good, but again, listen, let me read you some of the teams they've beaten over this stretch. Okay, they were 2-8. They beat Toronto. They beat Detroit. They beat Charlotte. They beat Houston at home. They beat Chicago. They beat Indy. Charlotte again at Miami. Washington at Detroit. Atlanta. They lost to Atlanta. I'm sorry. They lost to Atlanta, lost to Boston. Beat Brooklyn, Orlando without their two best players in Atlanta. Like, who have they beaten? That's a really good win. I mean, let's face it. That's a bunch of pretty much have-nots other than, Indy and maybe Houston? They beat nobody.
All right, that's a good point. It's a good point. But I think that what it does do is build self-esteem, confidence, and I don't know, and I'm always rooting for Doc, to salvage his reputation. It's taken such a battering in the last couple of years. And, I want him to get back to people's esteem. They got another guy on the team that I don't say it fascinates me, but he's a team. He's somehow flown under the radar as being a really effective sub, and that's Bobby Portis. Yep. Bobby Portis having another good year. Seems like he always has a good year, and at what he does and what he is. And I trust that he's comfortable in his skin in terms of how he gets used. I don't know. He must be. But anyway, I just want to put a little shout out to Bobby Portis as a unacknowledged, really good contributor to a good team, and he's having another good year.
I mean, do we really think Milwaukee, Gary, can do anything more? I guess, again, could they play the Celtics in the Eastern Conference final? Maybe. But does anybody think they could push? I mean, unless Lillard and Giannis go for 40 apiece. And even then, I'm not sure.
Well, this is the way I view them. I think it's a damn shame that they didn't win more than one title because I love Giannis as a player. I think that they could cause some problems. If Lillard, but I don't think you just mentioned, the thing about the Celtics, this is why Brad Stevens you cannot say enough about him, is there is nobody that has their depth. Yeah. Nobody. And if you talk about Milwaukee, where you guys are if you said to me, wow, you got Giannis and Lillard, man, those are two Hall of Fame players. And you go, yeah, so what? The Celtics have 9 deep. So you're right. They're going to have to score 8 a night. And I think if even you look at Minnesota with the deal they made, they're completely out of the picture. I mean, the Celtics are laughing at everybody. I mean, it really is amazing, guys, when you think about it. And this is just coming to the top of my head. When you look at all the other teams we're talking about, the Celtics roster-wise are just smoking them all. You would think with Giannis, Bob, and with Stoudemire that they would be a contender. But to Jeff's point, they're not. It's just not enough. So I think they can cause some problems if they rest them. If they rest them, they could cause some problems. But it's kind of disappointing, really. I mean, if I'm a Buck fan, I'm pissed.
Well, and the thing is, it's almost you mentioned the guy, Giannis. You want to get the most out of him, and in terms of W's and L's and championships and all that, and and you haven't. And he's 30 now. He's as good as he's ever been. I mean, he's just scary. God.
Are they going to, guys, do you think, Jeff, I'll start with you on this, maybe because I don't know if you've heard out and about, are they going to trade him? I know he's got the big contract and all that stuff, but I mean, are we better off having this guy go to the Knicks? I know you got to work out all the cap stuff, and I just think it sucks if this guy doesn't get to the finals again as an NBA fan.
Well, I think at some point he'll ask out. At some point when he realizes, and it's not even up to the player half the time. It's agent driven, right? It's agent driven of hey, let's demand a trade. And we haven't had it in a little while, guys. It's been a while since I feel like somebody's kind of basically, James Hardened it. That's what I call it now. When a player just quits, when they quit and they basically say like, you have to trade me.
I mean, can you imagine if this guy, like Bob, what happened? I'm just playing here because, can you imagine if this guy ended up in Houston or like Atlanta?
Oh, yeah.
That'd be awesome. I mean, you put this guy in Atlanta. I mean, you put this guy with Trey. I think it would be, or Memphis.
Any team. It doesn't matter.
I want to put him with like a young player. Like if you put him with any of the young guys on Memphis or OKC or Houston. I mean, I think it'd be a fun. It just is.
How about Cleveland? How about Cleveland guys?
Oh, forget it. It's oh God.
How about if Cleveland traded a couple of their younger guys and said, you know what, we know we're close, and we're going to pair Donovan Mitchell and make Donovan Mitchell our second best player instead of our best player, and go get Giannis for, I don't know what you got to give up. Would you do it for Evan Mobley and picks?
Yes.
That's what I'm saying. I mean, that's the trade. The trade would be something like with Cleveland that's close enough that would put them over the top, and then Milwaukee can get some young guys and try to rebuild this thing.
Bob, what's that do to Boston if that happened?
Well, no, they say, okay, bring them on. I mean, they would, and that's all. Yeah. They have no reason not to. I mean, there's nothing, he's talking about the depth earlier. I was just thinking about how we take for granted, because we're used to the situation that Horford's going to get his nights off, and Giannis is going to get his nights off, and Porzingis is going to get his nights off. And by the way, we got this guy Cornette. He's not too bad, I've been trying to tell people for a year, and and he came up with some important plays last night. So they got right, and I'm bolstering what you're saying about Brad and the roster thing. That they're not. We haven't even seen the real best of them yet. Honest to God, this year.
I mean, it's like. You sit, when you sit here and you think and you break down, the teams and so forth, and you talk about like Giannis. Even if Giannis went on another team like Cleveland, I mean, oh my God. See, because I think I'm not a true believer in Cleveland knocking out the Celtics. Bob, how do you? I don't think Cleveland knocks out the Celtics in the playoffs. Do you?
No, I think we would pick the Celtics, but it would be at the best at what I call a hard six.
Yeah.
And I've seen plenty of those kind of series and over the years, and hard six. But it's sure they give them a battle, and I think they're not remotely. How can they be discouraged? They've even beaten them.
Can I give you guys the odds, the current odds right now?
Yeah. What do you got?
Win the title. It's crazy. I mean, it's crazy. There's only two teams right now. It's like a 2-team race in Vegas, and Celtics are like basically plus 200 to plus 240 everywhere. Oklahoma City is like plus 350 to plus 400 everywhere. And after that, it's like Knicks plus 1,200, Dallas plus 1,300, Denver plus 1,800.
Yeah, I mean, Jeff, I'm looking at the standings, and it's a joke. I mean, they've just fleeced everybody. Which brings me to this. Let's bring my next question here as I was looking at the standards. Jeff, I'll start with you on this one. How much do you believe in the Grizzlies and the Rockets to stay in the top 4 in the West for the whole season?
Yeah, I mean, I don't necessarily. I would think, a Denver or Phoenix, if they're healthy, could go on a run. We'll see what Minnesota can do. Nobody, we still don't understand that trade for Cat when things were going well, but maybe in time they start to figure things out a little bit better. I think one of Memphis or Houston probably stays in the top 4, and I think one of them gets bounced. I think Houston's probably the more likely to get bounced. As long as Memphis stays healthy, I don't know, man. It's tough to question them because remember, they had this thing rolling when Ja was on the court. Yeah. Like they had this thing going before. So they've done this before. Houston is new to it. I think they're a little bit of a novelty right now, and I think they fall off despite my love for Fred VanVleet and Ime, frankly. But I just think Memphis, they've already done it with Ja, with Jaren Jackson, with Desmond Bane. They got Marcus Smart. I like the addition. Zach Edey's been good, guys. He's averaging like 11-7. I remember, did I tell you guys this story? So I've been great to Zach Edey his entire career.
Right.
And they get to the national title game. I interview him after the Final Four win last year. And I had said publicly over and over, I just don't know if Zach Edey's really more than a reserve as an NBA player. Like, I think he'll make a roster, but I don't think he's ever going to be more than, a piece. So he looks at me before and he goes, "You still don't think I can play in the NBA?" I said, "Zach, I never said you can't play in the NBA. I never said that. But it takes the right coach and the right system to be able to utilize a guy like Zach Edey. Not everybody's good." So I love the kid. He's gotten so much better, and I think he gives him obviously a different dimension. It's hard. You play a 2-man game with Zach Edey and John Morant. That's pretty tough to try to stop.
Yeah, Bob, how do you think about that?
I can't disagree with almost anything that Jeff just said. But between the two, I would have a little more faith in Memphis. But I'm impressed with what the way Houston just put the thing together and the judgments they've made and talent and to get back to respectability, and they certainly are back to respectability. And they got a coach that we know can coach. Yeah, it's a good question. And the question you posed, I think one of them can do that at least. And one reason being there's going to be an open spot. And when is Denver ever going to come back to what they were?
Yeah.
And I don't see that happening.
That's a good question.
Even with Jokic, who's
that's kind of the question to me.
I mean, what's going on with Murray? I mean, this has gone on too long now. He just isn't the same as he was 2 years ago. And I don't know that it's due to injury. Is it, Jeff? I don't know what. But
I feel like he's had so many big games in the playoffs that people forget that he's kind of been up and down a little bit in his career, right? Like, he's had these huge, huge nights that everybody kind of expects him to have those nights all the time. But yeah, this year, I mean, certainly you look at, he is not shooting the ball well at all from three. That's a big key right now for Denver. That he was kind of the Robin to Joker, and
no question.
Yeah, he hasn't been nearly good enough. And Christian Brown's been good, guys. He's been very good this year. But do they have a reliable number two guy? Michael Porter, again, you don't know what you're going to get every single night. So I think there's too many question marks.
Yeah.
And that's where the Celtics are so good, is because they're all their guys are reliable. Like, they may have an off night here or there, right? But, like, first of all, we know they're going to give it to you on the defensive end, pretty much all their guys for the most part. And one of them can have a night off, and it doesn't really affect you that much, where if Porter or Murray has a bad night, a night off, they just don't have quite enough around them.
Yeah, I agree. We have proof of the Celtics. They casually won without Tatum the other night. It was no big deal. It was easy.
Right.
Really, it really was.
I want Bob Ryan's story time. Bob Ryan's story time. Here we go. We just heard Jeff talk about how Zach Edey came up to him and said, so you don't think I can play in the NBA? Bob, give me a player that confronted you after you wrote something about him negatively or thought that you disrespected him.
I was covering a game in San Diego, and in the early 80s, or late, okay, and this was went down to the wire, and the Celtics pulled out the win. And one reason being Jelly Bean Bryant, Kobe's dad, while inbounding a pass in a crucial moment on his end of the floor, threw a bounce pass, which hit the sideline, therefore a turnover. It's a very classic Jelly Bean Bryant move, by the way. So anyway, the game ends, and I'm in the locker room, and I believe I was going to be talking to Randy Smith, and who was a wonderfully nice guy. And I hear a voice behind me. "There won't be a murder in here. Won't be a murder in here." And it was Sidney Wicks. And Sidney confronts me, and among other things says, "You ran me out of town." And for once, and maybe the only time in my entire professional life, I summoned the right thing to say, and not an hour later. I said, Sydney, if I thought I had the power, I would have done it sooner. And but at least he didn't get physical. Though threatening homicide, he didn't act on that urge at all. So
I love the rebuttal, though. And let me tell you, Bob, all of us wish you had the ability and could have done it sooner, because the Sidney Witch, Curtis Rowe era is the worst. It's worse than AC Earl. I don't care. It was the worst for me as a Celtic fan.
Oh, and by the way, along with those lines, the famous young Cedric Maxwell declaration telling us that after a game, and he was lamenting the loss, and Sidney Wick and Curtis Rowe said to him, allegedly had said to him, "Don't worry, kid. It's they don't put W's and L's on the paycheck." And I got that story confirmed, by the way, by Max not too long ago, the night of the tradition at the Boston at the Sports Museum. We were talking, and I somehow or other something came up that had put me in mind to the kid about that. And oh yeah, it's definitely true. Curtis Rowe said, "Well, don't worry, kid. They don't put W's and L's on the paycheck."
That says it all. All right, we got a final question coming up. But first, I got to tell you about Game Time, folks. Game Time is focused on togetherness this holiday season. And that means when you bring people together at live events, the experience is that much better, and it makes the perfect gift. I have Game Time on my phone. It's so easy to use. You just go on it, you punch on the Game Time app. Of course, I'm a New England guy, so I got everything going on in New England here. I get some Bruins tickets. I can get some Celtics tickets. I want to go see BC play. I can even go see Harvard if I choose to. So Game Time is a new feature called Game Time Picks that makes getting tickets for live events even easier, because what Game Time Picks does is filters out all the fluff, and you get incredible deals on great seats that you want. So when I go on my thing, it takes me right to the Celtics. Boom. You don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. Also, they have the super deal. And how good is this? It's great, because it's the single best value seat available. When you go to the super deal, boom, you go right to the top. You can curate deals, make it easier for the best price on great seats. You can look at the seat views before you buy them, so you get right there on your phone. You can see what you're going to see during the game and how much it's going to cost you right away. All the numbers are right up front. There are no fees that are going to be added when you hit checkout. And Game Time has the best ticket coverage in the industry, most flexible customer service policy there is. So download the Game Time app, create an account, use code CLNS for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code CLNS for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? It's game time. All right, guys, as we wrap it up, we're going to let Bob Ryan take us home, because OKC and Milwaukee are battling out in the cup, Bob, in the cup.
I'm so stoked.
I didn't even know. I didn't even know.
Oh, I'm so stoked about the cup. I'm so excited. Brother. Look, it's a game I like to watch. I'll probably watch.
Oh, yeah.
I will watch, holding my nose about the floor, whatever it looks like. And just, I'm sorry. I'm not moved by this cup idea. I need to be shown that it's having a benefit if anybody's really watching, other than teams that are involved. But as far as the game itself, fine. Yeah, good. Milwaukee and OKC, that's a nice game. But I'm not a fan of the cup. I'm sorry. It doesn't do a thing for me. Period.
I'm with you. I honestly couldn't care less about the cup. It does nothing. These designs on the floor, on the court, are terrible. And I again, maybe, people are going to accuse us of just being old, which we are, I guess. But let's get rid of the cup.
Of course, we're from a generation where the game is enough, right? I don't need fantasy. I don't need to gamble. I can simply sit there and watch the game. Even if I go to an NBA game, I don't need all the T-shirts and the dancers and all that, but that's fine. The question is, has it helped the NBA? And I think it's helped the NBA in this. It's brought some money from sponsorships. I think that's it. But I don't think The reason last year I think that it caused some buzz was because LeBron was in it. It's true. It's like LeBron was in the finals. So we started to think, oh, wow, maybe the Lakers will make a run. Maybe they got something going. Maybe this is an indication of things to come. It wasn't. So I think all it does do is it's good for the people who make the floors, and the sponsors pay the NBA a lot of money.
No, and the nice thing about it, some bench warmers are going to get a nice little bonus that.
Yes.
Right.
In the envelope, as we say, $500,000 these guys are going to get. And, obviously, Giannis doesn't need it, but some guy, whoever number 15, we're happy. Even our boy Pat Connaughton, who doesn't, by the way, can't get off the bench anymore, by the way.
No,
you notice that?
no.
He's been DNP'd. Well, that's a story for another day. Anyway, all you need to know about the cup is that the Lakers won it last year. Period. Let's go. That's all you do. Who cares?
Period. End of story. All right, gents. Jeff, have a great holiday season. If I didn't speak to you, Mr. Ryan, I'll grab you later in the week. We've been brought to you by Price Picks, the exclusive daily fantasy partner of the CLNS Media Network. Pick more, pick less with Price Picks.